Hi everyone, welcome to the Let's Talk About Art show. I'm your host, Emma Willie, and today I will be interviewing one of my favorite artists, Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh was an impressionist artist, which is a type of art form that is not the real picture, but art that is seen from the artist's point of view. They tried to capture the moment in life they saw as if it were happening before their eyes. A difference that can be seen from impressionist artists compared to other forms of art is that landscapes are not perfect. They use quick brushstrokes that can be seen as messy, and they also tend to use lighter colors. A similarity is, even though the process of the painting is messier, it is still a clean picture that the viewer can still understand and read what is happening. Impressionism started because artists wanted to rebel against classical artwork and wanted to embrace modernism. Sadly, this art period only lasted about 20 years, from 1867 to 1886. This type of art is very impactful because since these artists were rebels, they inspired freedom among many people, and artists, of course. Also having a lasting impact inspiring many modern artists we have today. I am so lucky to be interviewing Van Gogh, who was one of the best and most famous artists in my opinion. So let's welcome Mr. Van Gogh.
Hi everyone, I'm Vince van Gogh, and I was born on March 30th, 1853. I was born in the town of Groot Zundert in Brabant.
So Van Gogh, where is Groot Zundert in Brabant? Excuse me if I said that incorrectly.
To answer your question, where is Groot Zundert in Brabant? It is a region of the Netherlands close to the Belgian border.
Which sibling was your favorite?
My family background is actually very interesting. My father's name is Theodorus van Gogh. He was a pastor in the Dutch Reformed community. My mother's name was Anna Cornelia Cambentis. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings. I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. Before them and before me, since I'm the oldest, my parents unfortunately had a stillborn son. They actually named him the same name as me, and we were both born on the exact same date, a year separate, which is kind of strange and kind of coincidental. Out of my 5 siblings, though, the second oldest was named Theo. And then the third oldest was our other brother, Cornelius Vincent. And then we also had 3 younger sisters named Anna Cornelia, Elizabeth Herberta, and Womania Jacoba. To answer your question on which of my siblings was my favorite, well, I unfortunately do have a favorite, but I love all my siblings the same. But Theo was one of my closest and best friends, so I would have to say Theo. But I love all my siblings.
So, did you sell any of your paintings while you were alive?
Unfortunately, I was poor throughout my entire life, and I was never famous while I was alive for my art. All the money that came in from my art all happened after I died. To answer your question, yes, one painting out of all of the art I made did sell. It was called Red Vineyard, and it sold for approximately $437 US. And it was in Belgium 7 months before I died. Other than that, it was all after I died.
The next question is, were you and Uncle Vince close?
For my art education and background, I had 1 year in village school in Zundert, 2 years at a boarding school in Zevenbergen, and 18 months at a high school in Tilburg. At 16, I began working at the Hague Gallery of the French art dealers Guapel, where my Uncle Vincent was involved. To answer your question, yes, I was very close with my Uncle Vincent. But we actually called him Uncle Cent because a lot of us are named Vincent in one part of our name.
I think this one question is a question that we're all dying to have answered. Why did you cut off your ear?
I did have a lot of art friends, but my closest and most dear friend was Paul Gauguin. We were a lot different than each other and drew a lot different than each other and used different moods for our paintings. Unfortunately, he did move, and I was very upset and I was mentally unstable. I unfortunately cut off my ear, which caused me to get reinstated back to a mental hospital. I had very unstable moods. My reactive depression episodes were followed by prolonged periods of hypnomanic or even manic behavior. This affected my relationship with society because my personality was off-centered by my moods. But when I became depressed, I was transferred to London and turned to religion and spent time as a Protestant missionary in southern Belgium. I cut off my ear mainly because I had a mental illness, and I was very upset about Paul moving because we were very close.
So what did impasto do to your paintings?
For my style of painting, I use a technique painting called impasto. That is when I lay a thick layer of paint on canvas. Brushstrokes get more noticeable when you do that, so that's why I did it. I used impasto because I felt it was essential to my art, and it went into the more of the painting of how I feel, and it showed exactly what I was meaning.
So, as we all know and love, Starry Night was one of your most famous pieces. But is that your personal favorite?
Starry Night was definitely my most famous piece, and it was a view of my outside sanatorium room at night. Although when I painted it, it was a memory that I did during the day. Starry Night was my most famous piece, and personally, it was my favorite. At least it meant the most to me, even though I was mentally ill.
Did any of your paintings reflect your
To
religion?
answer your question, a couple of my paintings did reflect religion, and one of them was including the Pieta.
I'm sure you had a lot of lovers, but did you marry any of them?
I did have a few personal relationships throughout my life. My first love was my widowed cousin named Kivo Strichter, but she never had any interest in me, so that did not last long. I had a relationship later on with Cian Hornick, a former prostitute, who served as a model in some of my art, and she also had younger children. I also had a relationship with an older neighbor named Margaret Begeman, who attempted to kill herself later on because her family opposed us. And when I moved to Paris, I got involved with an artist, model, and cafe owner named Agostina Segatori, but that romance fell apart as well. Unfortunately, I'd never had kids and I never got married, so no, I did not marry any of my lovers throughout my life.
What is Expressionism?
To answer your question, Expressionism is a style of painting in which the artist seeks to express emotional experiences. My expressive and emotive use of color and distinct brushwork became hugely popular and massively influenced Expressionism. I am known as the greatest Dutch painter since Rembrandt.
Thank you so much for letting me interview you today, Van Gogh. I had a great time and learned a lot of new facts about you that I never knew before. Next, I will be introducing two art critics, Kyle and Jessica, where they will be critiquing Van Gogh's artwork. Take it away, Kyle and Jessica.
The first painting I will be talking about is Van Gogh's Starry Night. Van Gogh painted Starry Night while he was at an asylum in the Saint Remy de Provence in France. As he was in an asylum, he did not paint the painting as a commission or for anybody but himself. Most of the time he would paint to pass the time away. There are no people or individuals in the painting, so there are no notable individuals either. In the piece, Van Gogh is telling a simple story of a small and quiet town in France and the stars that lie overhead. As such, there is no moral, it's just a city with a beautiful skyline above. Van Gogh is trying to evoke a sense of wonder of the heavens above and puts them in a contrast with the small town below. While the piece does not reflect roles in society or say anything about culture, Van Gogh is a deeply religious man, so it is very likely that the bright stars above are supposed to reflect God in the heavens above, while the dark town represents humanity with only the church spire reaching into the stars above, most likely meaning that Van Gogh thinks the church should be more active in society. Starry Night does not resemble any real place in France, which is a strange departure from most of Van Gogh's works, where he painted a subject that he could clearly see. This is most likely due to the fact that at the time he painted it, he was in an asylum due to his mental health. Most of the colors used in this piece are dark blues and blacks, except for the stars in the sky, which are bright oranges. Due to the stars being so different from the rest of the painting, they really stand out against it. In the sky of the painting, there are subtle lines that lead towards the moon and help draw the eye. Another distinct line is the line between the hills and the sky, which help separate the sky and the rolling hills. There's also no unused space in the painting, so it all fits together very well, with most of the space being focused on the sky. The background of this piece helps to add color to the sky or small details to the town, making it feel much more full. After sitting and fully taking in this piece, it is much more meaningful than I initially thought it was, and the purpose is very deep. The next painting I'll be talking about is known as The Bedroom in Arles, or more simply, The Bedroom. Van Gogh again painted this piece just for himself, since at the time, most of the people in his life did not believe he could make it as an artist. As with Starry Night, there are no people in this painting, so there are no meaningful people either. Van Gogh is simply trying to tell the story of his bedroom and how much he liked it. There is no moral to this painting, and it is very simple, as it is just Van Gogh's bedroom, which he enjoyed so much. In this painting, there are really no statements about the church or roles in society, since it's not about any major subject, it's just about his room and what it looks like. Like most of Van Gogh's paintings, and unlike Starry Night, this is of a real place. In this case, it's of his bedroom in his house, in the southern town of Arles, which he thought quite fondly of. Van Gogh used many bright colors in this piece to make it pop and give it some life, while keeping closely to the real design of the room. The main colors that stand out are the yellow wooden objects and the red bed sheets against the blue background. The most eye-catching part is the bed on the right-hand side, which seems to draw the eye in no matter how you look at it. The overall composition has little wasted space, since he tried to make use of all the space he could in his bedroom. As I already stated, the blue background helps to make the wooden objects stand out against the background. After viewing more closely, I realized just how much detail Van Gogh put into this painting. One good way to show this is everything is slightly crooked, but this is not a fault of Van Gogh's painting. He did this on purpose, since his actual room was slightly crooked.
Thank you, Kyle, for critiquing Van Gogh's artwork and giving us insightful information. Next up, we have Jessica.
My name is Jessica Thompson. I'm Chief Curator of Exhibitions of Van Gogh paintings, and today I'm going to be talking about perhaps one of the most iconic paintings in art history, The Sunflowers by Van Gogh. Van Gogh was a famous Dutch post-impressionism painter. Van Gogh had already painted sunflowers when living in Paris with his colleague and friend Paul Gauguin, who was quite taken by them. When Van Gogh chose to leave the chaoticness of Paris to settle in a place called Arles, he arrived in full expectation that his friend would join him there to paint. And in that hopefulness, he painted one of his ultimate masterpieces, Sunflowers. "15 Sunflower" by Van Gogh is one painting out of a series of post-impressionism artwork. Now on display in the Vincent van Gogh Museum of Art in Amsterdam, visitors come to experience the feelings behind the masterpiece. The brightness of yellow on yellow gives the feeling of gratitude and happiness, while the intertwining of the sunflowers gives motion to the still life painting. The dense brushstrokes of the sunflower petals, in contrast to the thin strokes on the details of the stems, is a key trait of post-impressionism paintings.
Wow, we learned a lot of new information today. We were also refreshed on old information that we may have forgotten about Van Gogh. I also was super lucky to have two of the world's most famous art critics, Kyle and Jessica, appear. Thank you so much to everyone who allowed me to interview them and allowed me to have you on my show. Next week, I'll be interviewing Picasso, which I'm excited for, but not as excited for as I was today to interview Van Gogh. Again, thank you so much to everyone, and I hope you all have a great night or a great rest of your day whenever you're watching this show. And don't forget to hang up some artwork in your room, which I'm obviously lacking. And don't forget to express yourself.